From the late 1960s to the early 1970s, Northern California was terrorized by a serial killer who taunted the police and the public with cryptic letters and ciphers, dubbing himself the Zodiac. This elusive murderer is one of the most infamous unsolved cases in American history, leaving behind a trail of 5 confirmed victims, at least 2 injured survivors, and countless unanswered questions. The killer's brazen communication with the press, combined with his taunting nature, created a widespread climate of fear and fascination that continues to this day. The Zodiac's identity remains a mystery, despite decades of intensive investigation, numerous suspects, and extensive public interest. His crimes inspired books, films, and endless speculation, solidifying his place as a chilling icon of criminal cunning and anonymity. The Zodiac's confirmed killing spree began in December 1968 and continued through October 1969. His victims were often young couples in secluded areas, shot with a 9mm handgun. December 20th, 1968, Lake Herman Road. The first confirmed victims were high school students David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. They were on their first date, parked on a remote lover's lane in Benicia, California. Jensen was shot 5 times in the back as she tried to flee, and Faraday was shot once in the head. July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs Park. 6 months later, Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Mike Mageau, 19, were shot while parked in Vallejo. Ferrin died, but Mageau survived despite being shot in the neck and face, providing a crucial description of the attacker as a Caucasian male, stocky, about 5 feet 8 inches to 5 feet 10 inches. This attack was particularly notable because just minutes after the shooting, a man called the Vallejo Police Department, claiming responsibility for both this attack and the Lake Herman Road murders. Shortly after the Blue Rock Springs shooting on July 31st, 1969, 3 Northern California newspapers, the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner, received nearly identical handwritten letters from someone claiming to be the killer. The letters included details of the murders that only the killer would know. Each letter also contained 1/3 of a 408-symbol cryptogram, which the killer demanded be published, threatening more murders if his demands weren't met. This marked the killer's self-identification as Zodiac and the beginning of his infamous communication with the press. The Zodiac killer's brazenness escalated after his initial letters. He continued to communicate with the press and police through a series of taunting letters and more complex ciphers. September 27th, 1969, Lake Berryessa. This attack was a dramatic shift in modus operandi. The Zodiac approached Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, while they were picnicking near Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Dressed in a black executioner-style hood with a white crosshair symbol on it, he tied them up and then stabbed them repeatedly with a knife. Shepard died 2 days later from her wounds, but Hartnell survived, giving a detailed account of the attack. On Hartnell's car door, the killer wrote the dates of his previous attacks and Brown, Napa, OCT 11 to 6:30, by knife. He then called the Napa County Sheriff's Office, confessing to the crime. October 11th, 1969, Presidio Heights. Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac's final confirmed murder occurred in San Francisco. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old taxi driver, was shot in the head. This murder was particularly significant because the killer took a piece of Stein's blood-stained shirt, which he later mailed to the San Francisco Chronicle as proof. Following the Stein murder, the Zodiac sent numerous other letters and ciphers to newspapers, often boasting about his kills, mocking the police, and sometimes providing vague threats. One of the most famous was the 340-character cipher, which remained unsolved for over 50 years until it was cracked by a team of amateur code breakers in 2020. Despite cracking the code, the message offered no definitive clues to the killer's identity, only further taunts. The active Zodiac killings seemingly ceased after 1969, although the killer continued to send letters to the press until 1974, after which his communications dwindled. The last verified letter from the Zodiac killer was received in January 1974. Despite decades of intensive investigation by multiple law enforcement agencies, thousands of tips, and numerous suspects, including Arthur Lee Allen, a prime suspect who was extensively investigated but never definitively linked to the crimes, the Zodiac killer's true identity has never been confirmed. The case remains open in California. The Zodiac killer's reign of terror had a profound impact on Northern California, creating a chilling legacy that continues to fascinate and horrify. The case highlights the challenges of solving crimes based on limited forensic evidence and the psychological impact of a killer who actively engages with the public and media. The mystery surrounding the Zodiac's identity and motives ensures that this haunting chapter of true crime history remains a persistent enigma.